The Sumter Valley Gold Dredge is a historic gold dredge located in Sumter, in the U.S. state of Oregon. Gold was discovered in Sumter in 1862. 3 gold dredges were put into service in the Sumter Valley District between 1912 and 1934. A gold dredge works by having large buckets that pull the gold-bearing earth up into its machinery to be processed, keeping the gold and spewing the waste, known as tailings, out the back by way of a stacker. Built on a shallow hull, these dredges did not need a lot of water to operate, as they moved their pond of water with them. The internal mechanics were not very sophisticated. They duplicated, on a larger scale, many of the devices used by placer mining throughout the gold rush, such as the gold pan and the sluice box. In essence, the dirt that was dug by the large electrically powered buckets was sifted and sorted, and the remainder was washed over a series of riffles, allowing the gold to settle and be trapped. The primary advantages that made the dredge more efficient than other methods were the volume of earth it could process and having its own water supply. The dredge that was built in Sumter Valley could dig over 20 buckets per minute, consuming more than 7 yards of earth each minute. The Sumter Valley Gold Dredge required a 3-man crew to operate the machinery and 17 more workers to complete the crew for maintenance, bookkeeping, surveying, truck driving, managing, and a few other roles. The dredge operated 363 days a year. Most of the men were given the 4th of July and Christmas Day off from work. 1 or 2 men had to stay on board to watch over the machine during the evenings. Dredge workers often reported hearing the ghost of Joe Bush haunting the dredge when the dredge was not operating due to closure or repair. 3 dredges worked the valley from 1913 to 1954. Sumter No. 3 was built substantially from parts of the first dredge, which had been idle for 10 years. Between them, the dredges traveled more than 8 miles, 13 kilometers, extracting $10 to $12 million worth of gold. Still, it cost more to run than the gold could pay for. The last dredge closed in 1954, more than $100,000 in debt. In its lifetime, this dredge made $4.5 million at $35 per troy ounce. That is 128,570 troy ounces, which, at the recent value of $1,400 per ounce, would be worth $180 million. The Oregon Parks and Recreation Department has preserved this historic area as the Sumter Valley Dredge State Heritage Area. The park includes the Gold Dredge Gift Store and Museum, with a video featuring interviews with dredge workers, historic photos, and artifacts. Tours of the dredge are provided. The dredge was part of a paranormal investigation on the 2013 television series Ghost Mine. Stretching for miles across the Sumter Valley and following Cracker Creek and the Powder River are mounds and mounds of rock and debris, remnants of the dredges that once operated in this valley. Many know of dredging as a process used to maintain the depth of a river's channel for ship navigation or as flood prevention. However, another common use for dredges would be in gold mining. In late 1912, the first Yuba-style dredge in Sumter Valley was built just south of the city, downstream of the Sumter Valley Railroad SY and below the old smelter. Built by the Powder River Gold Dredging Company, the hull was 100 feet long by 45 feet wide and made entirely of wood. Powered by an electric motor, the bucket line boasted 65 9-cubic-foot dredging buckets which dug at a rate of 21 buckets per minute or 7 cubic yards of material per minute. The buckets brought the gold-laden earth up to the top of the dredge where it dumped into a hopper. From there, water flushed it forward into a 36 feet, rotating metal drum called a trommel. A water line ran through the trommel so that as it turned the material was washed and smaller particles were dropped down through 3/4-inch holes that lined the trommel's shell, while larger material continued on towards the stacker where it was carried by a conveyor belt 96 feet to the end and dropped out the back, creating the piles of tailings in the dredge's wake. After passing through the trommel, the gold-bearing sand was flushed over a series of sluice boxes lined with slats called riffles where the gold and other heavy materials settled and were trapped while the remaining lighter material was deposited out the back of the dredge. In 1915, 3 years after their first dredge began operating and digging its way south down towards McEwen, the Powder River Gold Dredge Company started up their second dredge, the No. 2 dredge. This dredge was built like the first dredge in size and style, the only differences being that the second dredge had flat steel gray siding and its buckets only carried 7.5 cubic feet of material compared to the No. 1 dredge's 9 cubic feet. The No. 2 dredge spent its life working its way north, up the McCully Fork and Cracker Creek towards the town of Bourne. Both dredges operated simultaneously until 1923 when the Powder River Dredging Company shut down and dismantled the No. 2 dredge, shipping it all but the hull to Central Washington where it was rebuilt and renamed the Liberty Dredge. The hull of the No. 2 dredge can still be seen today, resting in the pond it stopped in, approximately 2 miles up Bourne Road. The number 1 was shut down the following year and its hull remains where it stopped in McEwen at the current Sumter Valley Railroad ticket depot and shop are located. The valley was quiet for over a decade before dredging was active again. In 1934, influenced when President Franklin D. Roosevelt raised the price of gold from $20 to $35 an ounce. The Sumter Valley Dredging Company began work to create a new and improved gold dredge. This dredge, a Yuba-style dredge, had several improvements to its predecessors. It was larger, its hull being 125 feet long by 52 feet wide. It ran 72 10-cubic-foot buckets at the speed of 25 buckets per minute or 8.33 cubic yards of material per minute. It was estimated that the dredge could work through 100 acres of material per year. It took over 20 men to keep the operation going, including a superintendent, dredge master, bookkeeper, electrician, part-time surveyor, shop foreman, machinists, shore crew and dredge crew. However, it only took 3 of those men to operate the dredge: the front oiler, the rear oiler, and the winchman. The dredge operated continuously. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every day of the year. Christmas and the 4th of July were the only observed holidays. In 1942, the dredge was shut down as all non-essential mining operations were ordered to cease production for the duration of World War II. On July 5, 1945, the dredge was able to begin operating again. This time it was under a new owner, the Baker Dredging Company, and its gold recovery system was upgraded from the sluice boxes to a jig system, which increased the efficiency from 70% recovery to 95% recovery of the gold. The Baker Dredging Company operated the dredge until 1950, when they decided to sell it to another mining company, also with the name Powder Dredging Company. With the new system, there was hope of recovering the gold missed by the first 2 dredges. However, they did not recover as much gold as they had anticipated, and with the expenses of running the operation increasing after the war, they found they could not make enough to make ends meet, as we were still on a gold standard and gold was still $35 an ounce. The Powder Dredging Company ceased dredging in August of 1954, $100,000 in debt. The dredge operated continuously, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. A total staff of 24 was necessary to successfully run the dredge, while it took a team of 3 men to operate the dredge at any one time. A world war was one of the few disturbances that halted the dredge's progress. Aside from that 3-year layover, the dredge operated almost non-stop from 1934 to 1954.
No case too small. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.